subliminal, you get.
I've seen a lot of these videos online, and while they're pretty funny, I think it's important to talk about the meaning of them and how these types of things affect your friendships. And I apologize in advance for my nose. I've been having some allergies. But I'm not trying to be the Instagram Reels equivalent here of a grammar police, trying to police what people do or say that, oh, you shouldn't do that because it's just a meme, right? Okay, fine. But I do recognize in my life and others that friends are probably one of the most important things for your well-being. And I think most people get that, right? And in my view, investing in good friends is part of investing in your future. And that doesn't mean you just become friends only with people who can help your career path, like LinkedIn friends or something. In fact, it's pretty much the opposite of what you would do. I mean that we should invest in friends as part of taking care of our overall health as human beings. And as a result, I find it necessary to make this video in response to these reels that you see online. So, what are we talking about here? What does it actually mean to fade the homies for the internship? Like, what is that even talking about? Well, the general idea here is that what happens is you were initially without an internship, without a job, whatever, okay? You haven't achieved your goal yet. You probably had friends who were supportive and who wanted you to get that internship or job, right? Yet when you get it, you suddenly switch up on them. And now your whole life revolves around that job or internship. You're now too good for those friends back home. And now your friends are those who are going to work with you in that new world, in that new corporate engineering, finance, whatever role you can think of. I can't think of that many right now, but you can tell I don't have an internship. But now you may think that this is far-fetched and that you wouldn't do this or you wouldn't experience this from your friends. But don't limit this switching up to just internships or jobs or things like that. There are many other times in our lives when this happens. I'll give you examples. Think about elementary school to middle school alone. Already, people stop being friends with those they used to be friends with for the sake of popularity. Right? Of course, middle school, they're just going through puberty. This changes, right? Of course, in general, it's natural as we grow up to distance ourselves from certain people and find our place in new groups when necessary. But it becomes a problem when this is intentional and it comes from a place of arrogance. Think about all the people that went to college and stopped talking to their best friends from high school, right? They stopped checking up on them. They stopped texting them, and they act like strangers now. I've seen this happen countless times. And the issue is not that we're growing up and moving on, right? That's totally normal. The issue is that we suddenly think we're too good for our old ways, our old friends, and our old lives. Well, we forget that that was us not too long ago. That was who we were. We could appreciate how we've changed and grown, but we shouldn't reject our roots for the sake of ego. I'm glad I did not reject my OG friends for the sake of my college, because now my OG friend group is intact and actually stronger than ever. And sure, there's a chance these groups will break up sometime in the future. But if you care about those friends, if you put the effort in, that linkage between friends should never fade. It may grow longer as time and distance and responsibilities separate you, but the bond should never break. It should only grow longer. I've seen so many times people saying they don't want to hang out with their high school friends anymore because they were low-key chuds back then and they wanted to finally branch out and be a new person, right? Fine, branch out, grow, do whatever you have to do, but it's not mutually exclusive with keeping your old friends. Why turn your back on the people who were with you when you were low-key a chud too? Why not check up on them and hang out with them to see how they're doing? If they don't respond and they don't want to hang out, fine, but that's not even remotely similar to ditching them for the sake of quote-unquote branching out. Now, I will acknowledge I'm speaking in the ideal here. I'm sure everyone would love to stay friends with their day ones forever, but that requires effort from both ends, and a lot of the times, it's hard to remember that. Both friends have to stay in touch, both friends have to remember who was there for them when they were nobody, and both friends have to agree that their friendship is invaluable. And a lot of what I learned recently in life is about humility, right? And this matters for friendship. It's easy to look back at your old ways, like I said earlier, and become arrogant. I've become so much better. I'm so much more knowledgeable. I'm so much more mature. But there's no humility in that. And this is the type of mentality that gets people to abandon their roots and ultimately abandon their friends. I've heard stories of people changing, again, once they get to college, and this change gets to them. They suddenly don't talk to their old friends anymore as if their old friends are somehow stuck in time and they've just surpassed them, as if no one else grows. But everyone goes through change. Everyone grows, just like you are. We're not special in that we grow when we enter new places. Everyone changes. It's just different for everyone. Why turn your back to the people who were there for you when you were just a chud, respectfully? My point, to put it simply, is that ego is a dangerous thing, and it harms friendships. And I've had my own personal problems with ego, and if it has never been a good thing, it has always resulted in bad things. It's the difference between confidence and ego, but I think we can all tell when we're starting to become egotistical as opposed to just confident in ourselves. And I would recommend maintain those awesome friendships you had as long as you can. Why stop them just because you've changed? Everyone changes. I'm sure if you've been friends with anyone since elementary school, they've changed too. That doesn't mean you stop being friends. You still be friends. Even if you don't see your friends, check up on them, call them, keep in touch. You can even game with them from time to time. I've never heard anyone regret staying friends with their day ones. I've only heard people regret growing distant from them and not keeping in touch as much as they should have. And as always, stay mindful, and I'll see you all in the next episode.